All right, fine. I'll make a video about the best Smash controllers. You know I was going to do that anyway. People gravitate towards Gamecube controllers, a 17-year-old design for any Smash Bros. Game. There's some good reasons for this, but it's not entirely necessary for most people. But because of this, every third-party company on the planet has made their own Gamecube controllers. We're going to talk about why these exist and which ones are the best ways to play. This video is sponsored by nobody. I'm just kidding. But please buy some Wulff apparel, please. As you can imagine, there are a ton of ways that you can play this game. Like, for example, with a single Joy-Con. I'm actually glad this was included in the game. If you're out and about and you have to settle it in Smash real quick with a friend, you can throw it into tabletop mode and you can both do your best. Obviously, this is the worst way that you could possibly play this game, but I'm glad that it's there. I also really hate portable mode. It's fine because it's Smash Bros. Portably. It's the best that you can get. It's still not as bad as playing on a 3DS, that's for sure. The buttons are just too tiny and the shoulder buttons feel like they're in a weird spot, even though they're just fine for virtually every other game in existence. I keep accidentally grabbing when I want to shield and shielding when I want to grab. And that right thumbstick, I just hate using that right thumbstick in portable mode. For Smash, you really only need it for quick flicks, but I keep losing orientation and flicking it the wrong way. I don't recommend this at all. You're better off tossing a wireless controller in your bag and playing it in tabletop mode. Now, in the Wii U era, I was one of those people campaigning for a Pro controller. I never understood why people clung to the GameCube controllers for so long. Must be those pesky Melee purists who just can't let go of the past for clearly better things. My least favorite thing about GameCube controllers are the really big shoulder buttons. They have a lot of travel distance, and that hinders your reaction time for sure. This is a problem when shielding and when doing a dodge roll, and I do dodge rolls a lot. And I should preface this by saying, I'm not very good. I try to be good, but I'm not very good. And this doesn't open me up to wanting advice from any of you. If you were thinking about giving me advice either in the comments or during a live stream, I want you to stop and think to yourself for a second that you're probably not as good as you think you are. So f you. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the Pro Controller. These shoulder buttons are way better. They're way faster. The button layout is fine, but I actually grew to love the GameCube controller layout way more for Smash. The A button is the focus. The jump buttons are grouped together and out of the way. The C stick is in the perfect spot for flicking. That's not to say that a Pro controller is inherently bad. You're not gonna pick up a GameCube controller and miraculously be better at the game. But I just happen to grow more comfortable with these GameCube-styled controllers while playing Ultimate. I have a lot of things to say about all of these controllers, but no matter how many shortcomings they have, they're all great options. You can get any of these controllers and be just fine. Just keep that in mind because I'm gonna be nitpicking a lot here. My least favorite GameCube controller for the Switch might be the official Nintendo one. The biggest downside is that you need an adapter in order to use it. I'm lucky enough to still have mine from the Wii U days, and that one works just the same as the new Switch one. Now, all of the Switch GameCube adapters are out of stock or back-ordered or hard to find. They also take up 2 USB ports, so you're not going to be plugging anything else into the side of your Switch dock. If you want to play 4 players, though, you either have to go wireless or buy one of these GameCube adapters and use all GameCube controllers. My other gripes with the OG GameCube controller are that it only has a start button in the middle, no share button, and more importantly, no home button. So you can forget about turning the Switch on or off, or even getting to the home screen while using the GameCube controller. You will always need an additional controller with a home button next to you in order to turn the Switch on, off, or go to the home screen. I'm also not a fan of just how harsh the divots are around the joysticks. I get why they're there, and I miss them for this game when using the Pro controller. It helps because this is essentially a 2D game and you don't need 360 degrees of movement. But it also makes the horrible menu impossible to navigate. I can't get to the vault. I can't get to the vault right now. Oh, there. The divots are probably something that will wear down with use, maybe become less harsh. This is very much a one-to-one copy of a GameCube controller, and that's why you need an adapter. The other controllers on this list, they look like GameCube controllers, but they actually work like Pro controllers. At least that's how the Switch sees them anyway. They have thumbsticks that click in, so you have extra buttons there. They also have a share button and a home button. They also have 2 Z buttons, ZL and ZR, not just one Z button like the GameCube controller has. The Hori controller is one of the lightest controllers, and it's definitely the cheapest feeling one on this list. It plugs in via USB, which I prefer because that means you don't need a $20 adapter. It also has all of the buttons you need to start the game up and shut the game down. I mentioned this in my last video, but it has ZR, ZL, and L and R buttons reversed. This is because the Z button on the OG GameCube controller is where the L button would be normally on a Pro controller. Hori did this because they probably weren't sure how the Switch was going to handle these types of controllers for Smash specifically. You have the option to flip these buttons around to the right spot by holding the ZL and ZR buttons while plugging in the controller, which is actually surprisingly easy to do with just one hand. A red LED means they're successfully flipped, and it'll remember your options even when you unplug the controller. It turns out, the Switch handles these third-party GameCube controllers just like Pro controllers since they plug in via USB, so the ZL and ZR buttons act just like L and R buttons on a normal GameCube controller, so there's no reason for Hori to do this at all. It was a smart idea, but it was ultimately futile. They should have at least defaulted the other way because I have mine permanently flipped now forever. I do like the shoulder buttons a lot because they are just switches. There's no harsh travel distance. The D-pad is also larger, but that doesn't really matter for Smash. All in all, this is pretty much identical to an OG GameCube controller. Aside from its short shoulder buttons, the D-pad, the home, share, and turbo buttons, and the fact that it plugs in via USB. Now, the PDP controller is pretty much the same thing as the Hori controller. The shoulder buttons are also switches on this controller. The differences here are that the shoulder buttons are in the right spot by default, the D-pad is really tiny, and the classic yellow C-stick can be swapped out for a full-size thumbstick, which is how I have mine set up right now. It also just generally feels nicer. It's less cheap plastic and, I don't know, it's more thick, expensive plastic. And the weight feels exactly like an OG GameCube controller, and I feel like that was intentional. I actually prefer wired controllers because I don't sit too far away from my Switch when I play. I don't want to have to worry about batteries, and input lag matters to me, so I think this PDP controller is my preferred controller for Smash Ultimate. However, I know that a lot of you need to have your wireless controllers, and you all made it abundantly clear that you wanted me to check out that PowerA wireless GameCube controller, so I did. This one has the best build quality out of all of the controllers in this video, and rightfully so. It's $50 frickin'. Mind you, that's twice as much as the other GameCube controllers. It's got all of the same stuff as the other 2 aftermarket GameCube controllers. And it has an enlarged D-pad like the Hori controller. It's also just as light as the Hori controller. The divots in this thumbstick are actually harsher than on the original GameCube controller, so it's really clicky. I also noticed not only is the thumbstick smaller on this controller, but the entire controller is slightly smaller than the other GameCube controllers. I definitely noticed the small thumbstick while playing, but I didn't notice that the whole thing was smaller. These aren't necessarily downsides, these are just things that I noticed. The only downside I have with this controller, and the only thing that's keeping it from being my main Smash controller, is the fact that it has the big, fat, raised shoulder buttons. Granted, they're smaller and have less travel, but they still have a lot more travel than the Hori and PDP controllers. They aren't even pressure sensitive. You have to mash them all the way down for them to work. This controller also comes in a wired variant that's the same price as the Hori and PDP controllers, but that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? I also decided that I was going to check the input lag on all these controllers because I hate myself. This is a very unscientific test where I just film the screen and the controller in slow motion, and I count the frames between the button press and when an action actually happens on screen. Since there's a lot of variables that could go wrong here, it's only really a problem if one of the controllers is so vastly out of line with what the other controllers are doing. While playing, I noticed no noticeable input lag on any of these controllers. For the most part, they're all fine, just with very slight differences. We can use the OG GameCube controller as the base with an average of 8 frames of lag. The PDP and Hori controllers both come in at about a half a frame quicker, probably because they don't require an adapter. The wireless Power A controller also averages 8 frames of lag, which is interesting. And the Pro controller actually has the most lag with an average of 8.5 frames. Again, these differences aren't noticeable while playing, it's just something to consider. And if you're using a Pro controller now, you could potentially cut out a whole frame of lag by just using either the Hori or the PDP controller, wired. This Power A controller is a great controller. It feels great in the hand, and I'm sure that most people would like this controller the most for Smash, especially because it's wireless. But for me, I've got to give it to my 15-year-old Nyko controller that has a fan in it and it pumps cool air to your sweaty palms. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm giving it to the PDP one. It has the nice shoulder buttons. You could swap out the nub stick, and it's only $25. Any of these controllers on this list would be just fine. Maybe you saw something on one of the other controllers that you like more. But for me, I am not above plugging in a wired controller every single time that I want to play. What do you guys think about all of these different controllers that you could use for Smash Ultimate? What have you been using? Have you been using a Pro controller? Have you been using the dreaded Joy-Con grip? You monster. Do any of these controllers interest you at all? Leave it in the comments below, add me on Twitter, and all this other social media garbage. And of course, we have Amazon affiliate links in the description below to all these products. Those links help support this channel. Thank you very much. And I was serious about Wulff Den apparel, by the way. Look at this. Look at this hoodie. Is this what you wanted? Anyway, we got new videos and live streams all the time. Our schedule's in a pinned tweet over on our Twitter. We got Wulff Den live every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. We also have our streams over on twitch.tv/WulffDen. I'm definitely gonna be streaming some Smash, and I'm gonna get right back into Pokemon Let's Go because I've been having a lot of fun over on Twitch lately. And if you want people to play Smash with, you should join our Discord community over at discord.gg/WulffDen. And they do community games over there before we do live streams on Wednesdays and Sundays. So, and there's some pretty cool stuff in the pipeline for those. So you should definitely join our community and play Smash with some of our best friendos. But of course, the most important thing you can do, the least I could ever ask of anybody, is just hit that subscribe button so you get notified whenever a new video comes up or whenever we go live. And share this video with a friend who needs to get a better controller because you keep whooping their ass. Thank you guys very much. You have yourself a very good week.